Yes,
So
sir.
we were discussing, we have started functions, right? So we completed relations and we did functions. We have started functions. So yesterday I gave you an assignment which is based only on relations. Is there any doubt from that? Is there any
No,
problem with your
sir.
stuff? Yes. Anyone else? Right. So generally relations problems are easy only because you have to understand what is an ordered pair and how to select the items. Okay. So if you're clear with this, we can proceed with our next topic, that is the functions. We have started with two topics already. Two types of functions we have already seen. What are they? We have seen what is an identity function. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
So we have seen what is an identity function and we have seen what is a constant function. And last class, I explained you what is a polynomial function. Right. Now we will start with the next type of function, that is rational functions. Okay. So what do you mean by a rational number? So you have heard the term rational number, right? Last year you had a real number to prove that a given number is irrational. So you will consider some p by q form and then you will proceed and use contradiction method to prove, right?
Yes,
So in
sir.
a similar way, so what is a rational rational number? So what is it actually? Anybody? So rational number is the one which you can write in the form p by q, where p and q are
Real numbers.
sorry, they are. I
Integers.
didn't get you. They should be integers, and q should not be
Not be
equal
equal
to
to
0.
0.
So q not be equal to 0, and they need to have something in common. What is it? If you get in the form p by q is, then this number is what is called as a rational number. A similar way, if you remove the word number and add the term function, what do you think it will be? So then what will rational? It is nothing but 1 of x divided g of x is not equal to 0, right? So you have a
Repeat, your
function
voice
f
is
of
breaking.
x.
So your voice is breaking, sir.
My voice is, now is it fine? Now is it fine?
Yes, now it's fine.
Yeah. I'm saying if you're able to write a function, a particular function is a form f of x divided by g of x, where g of x is not equal to 0, then that type of a function is what is called as a rational function. Okay, where the only difference is going to be when we write it as a number p by q, p and q are supposed to be integers. Whereas when you write it in the form f of x by g of x, the functions f of x and g of x are supposed to be polynomial functions. So to put it in very simple terms, one polynomial function divided by the other polynomial function is what is called as a rational function. Is that clear? And the most important condition to be satisfied is the denominator function, whatever is there, should not be equal to 0. That is a very, very important condition. Okay. Now let's see. So there is, look at the example 15. So I told you one point. If I give a function like this, f is mapped from x to y. Remember, f is mapped, if a function f is there such that it is mapped from x to y, then x represents what? X represents
Domain.
Domain.
x represents the represents y represents what? Y
Range.
represents the range. Okay, this is very, very important point. So whenever you're reading a question related to function, you first always need to ensure what is the domain of the function and what is the range of the function. Okay. Why I'm stressing on this point is this is one of the basic points many people miss, and they struggle a lot with calculus. Okay. They struggle a lot, not only with calculus, even with problems based on trigonometry, because everything else dealt after this is going to be a function. So function, what is the important thing? What is the address of a function? It is a domain and the range of a function. It will be given in the question itself. If not given, you should know how to find it. Okay. So keeping that point in mind, define the real valued function. There is a function which is mapped from r minus 0 to r. What is the meaning of this? So what is the meaning of this, guys?
R has every value except 0.
So this in this function is given as 1 by x. You can substitute any real except 0. Because if you observe this f of x is equal to 1 divided by x. So what is the numerator? It is a fraction, right? So what is in the numerator? The numerator is a constant function divided by x. X is a polynomial function, right? So when you talk about a rational, so this becomes a rational function. So when you talk about a rational function, what is the most important point about the denominator?
Should not be equal to 0.
It should not be equal to 0. So what value of x, if I substitute here, will make the denominator 0?
0.
0.
That is why substitute number in this function except 0. That is the reason why it is written as r minus 0. For example, had the question been 1 by x minus 1, then what would have been the values I can substitute? I can substitute any real number except
1.
1.
Now you understood?
Yes, sir.
So this is what is called as the domain of that function. Okay. So that is why it is given like this. And what is the meaning of the range being to get some real number? Okay. So the function is given like this, where x belongs to r minus 0, that is the domain. Complete the table given below using the definition. What is the domain and range of this function? You people know it already. I have already explained it. So the domain is all real numbers except 0.
Sir,
And
your
it's also
The
all
voice is breaking, sir.
Your voice is breaking, sir. So much. Can I explain it again, sir?
From where is it breaking?
No, sir. From middle it is breaking, sir.
Yes, sir. In middle, it's breaking here and there.
Okay, now is it fine?
Now fine, sir. But
Now it's
Yes,
fine,
sir.
but later on, it's breaking a bit. Sir.
When it is breaking, immediately let me know. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now try to stand. You substitute any real number. Okay, you will get. So they're asking what is the domain and range of.
now it is breaking, sir.
The voice is
Sir,
breaking.
your voice
Given
is
below.
breaking, sir.
Okay.
Wi-Fi symbol also it is only low, sir. Only 2 points it is showing, sir.
It is there. Now is it? Now it is fine. Now it is fine, right? So now let's see. So they've given you a table, right? When you substitute -2, what will be the value of y?
1 by -2.
So minus 1 by 2, that is minus 0.5. 1 by minus 1 by 5, it is minus 0.67. So it keeps on going like this. Right? So it keeps on going like this. Now, if you try to plot the graph for it, it looks like this. Okay. When you try to plot the graph, it looks like this. So when they're asking you the domain is going to be all real values of x except 0. And here, what is going by looking at the graph, how you find the range is you need to take all the values of y except the place where the curve is not cutting the axis. See, for example, if you observe this, if you observe the graph on the left hand side, what is happening? The graph is going in the y direction. If you observe, the graph is going till where?
Infinity
It is going till minus infinity.
minus infinity.
If you observe here, the graph is going till upward direction. In the direction of y, it is going in which direction? It is going till plus infinity, right? It is going till minus infinity. It is going till plus infinity. But what is the value that is missing in the graph? Is this graph cutting the y-axis at any point? Is this graph cutting the y-axis? Sorry?
No, sir, it's not cutting, sir.
It is not cutting, no. So, minus infinity to infinity along y direction, you get anything. Minus infinity to infinity, except, what is it? 0. Okay. One small change in the meaning what I told. This r minus 0 represents the domain and r represents the codomain. It is not range, sorry about it. It represents the codomain. Okay. So, what will be the range of this function? It will be any real number except 0. So domain is also any real number except 0, and range is also all real numbers except 0. As of now, you visualize it through graph. I'll explain you how to find the range. Don't worry about it. There is a method to find the range.
So that means even codomain will be all real numbers except 0, sir.
Codomain can be anything. Codomain
Can even include 0.
It can include 0.
Okay.
But range does not have 0. Means you cannot find any value of x for which the y value comes out to be 0.
Yes, sir. Understood.
That is a main. Okay. So I will explain you how to find the domain and range without graphs also. Don't worry about it. So as of now, observe the graph and try to understand what I'm trying to say. Okay. There are two last functions that you have. One is a modulus function, and the second is a signum function. So signum, and you have greatest integer also. There are three types of functions. So the next is a modulus function. So what do you mean by modulus function? F of x is equal to modulus of x. So the symbol with two parallel lines in between which you write a variable is what is called as x. Mod x is called as a modulus function. Okay. So this is also a real value function. It is defined from real number to real number. This map is going to be the codomain. Okay. Now, how to define this f of x is equal to mod x is observe clearly. Make a note of it. This is a very, very important function. Okay. Make a note of it. F of x is equal to mod x is defined like this. So you write it as plus x when the value of x is greater than 0. You write it as 0 when the value of x is 0. You write it as minus x when the value of x is less than 0. Okay. So the meaning of this is, if suppose I want f of x is equal to mod of 3. If I ask you a question like, what is the value of modulus of 3? What will your answer be?
3.
So how did you get it? Using this function definition, how did you get it? So you need to first check what is the input value you are giving. Is the input value positive or negative in this case?
Positive.
Positive.
So positive number means what should be the output? The number itself.
0.
Modulus. So any number which you put inside modulus is always positive, no, sir?
Always positive. Then why did they write minus x here?
Modulus of minus, no, sir.
What is the meaning of minus x here? Why did they write
Minus
minus?
of modulus minus x, sir.
It is not minus of modulus of minus x. It is minus of minus x. That's what I was about to explain. Wait for it. Okay. So modulus of minus 3, if I ask, then what you need to do is look at the definition of the function. What is the definition of the function telling? If you substitute the input value less than 0, that is, if you substitute a negative number, then the output you are supposed to write it as minus of the value of x. Here, what is the value of x that you substituted?
Minus 3.
Minus.
So that is why it is coming out as plus 3. It is not minus of modulus of x. It is minus of minus 3. That is why it is 3. It is purely according to the definition of the modulus function. So that's why I told you it is very, very important. Have this in your mind. This is used in most of the places. So you remember like this. It is equal to x when x is greater than 0. It is equal to 0 when x is equal to 0. It is minus x when x is less than 0.
Understood, sir.
Yeah. So in your textbook, what they have given is it is equal to x when x is greater than or equal to 0. That's what they have given. That is also accepted. In some books they write it, but there is a more detailed way of understanding. Okay. So try to observe the concept which I am telling. Okay. Now if you try to observe the graph for it, if you try to observe the graph, 1 minute. So what did I say? F of x is equal to mod x. So f of x will be defined like this. It is x when x is greater than 0. 0 when x is equal to 0. It is minus x when x is less than 0. Okay. So when you try to plot the graph like this.
Sir, in exam, will they ask to plot the graph, sir, for these separate functions?
See, I'll tell you only one thing. In your 11th standard, I cannot say anything because 11th is purely in the hands of teacher. But if you want to learn the subject, graph is the best way. If you don't want to struggle in your 12th standard, you have to understand. Okay, so next time, please don't ask me a question about exam. I'm teaching you the concept. My test, you will definitely get it. I cannot assure you about the school test. Okay, 11th is not in the, since 11th is not in the control of boards, it is purely the freedom of teacher. But I suggest you to learn it so that next year you don't struggle. Okay, it will become very easy. Please understand this. So if f of x is equal to x, x is greater than 0. Means what is the meaning? It is in the positive side of
Positive x-axis.
So positive x-axis, f of x is equal to x means, you remember, is equal
Your
to
voice,
type of function.
voice was breaking, sir.
Again breaking.
The
Okay.
previous also it breaks, sir. Like,
Okay. No, I'm repeating my question. When x is greater than 0 means from origin, it is on the right side of the graph sheet. That point is clear. No?
I have a doubt in that, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
When
Tell
x,
me.
it's on the x-axis, but not in the origin. Origin is not considered, no, sir.
Origin is not considered. It is purely greater than 0.
Okay, sir.
Except origin 0.000 zeros 1. That is going to be the starting point. It will be that small. So any value other than 0, slightly greater than 0 also it is starting. Okay. X greater than 0 means your graph will get pertain to the first quadrant or which quadrant? This first quadrant.
Or else the
Second.
fourth quadrant, sir.
Yes, your graph can be restricted to the first quadrant or the fourth quadrant. So if I say f of x is equal to x, this is the very first function we discussed in this chapter within the functions. What is it?
Identity.
It is an identity function. So identity function, I told you, when you try to plot the graph, and it will be a line which is passing through origin, and what will be the angle it is making with the x-axis. This point also I told you, it will exactly make an angle of 45 degrees. You remember this, no? Similarly, so f of x is equal to x means for all values of x greater than 0, right? X is 0. Equal to 0, 0, it is just a point. So x less than 0 means it is restricted to which quadrants?
So could you repeat your question?
When I say x is less than 0, it is restricted to which quadrant?
Second and third.
So f of x is equal to minus x. This is the graph. Okay, you're able to understand this point? Here it will make an angle.
sir, it is breaking so much, sir.
5 degrees. I think I have a Yesterday also,
Speaking so
that
much.
is why I could answer that.
Sir, your voice
Now
is
is it fine?
breaking.
I don't know why. Since yesterday, I have network issue.
Could you explain from that 45-degree again, sir? Like that 135
45.
before the starting out of 135 degree.
No, no, you're able to.
Sir, still breaking, sir.
Last time it was better, sir. Now it's too much, sir.
I didn't get you.
Sir, it's still breaking, sir.
Breaking too much, sir.
Now is it better? See. Now I guess it should be better. Now is it better?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now I think you'll not have an issue. Let me see. So I'm saying f of x is equal to minus. The graph will be. So that is it.
Sir.
Sorry.
Sir, can you explain it again, sir? It was breaking, sir, when you explained that. Yeah, this point, sir.
See, f of x is equal to x when x is greater than 0. 0 when x is equal to 0. Minus x when x is less than 0. Okay. So f of x is equal to x means it is a graph like this. You remember this? This is the graph for identity function. Right? But according to this question, how should I draw? I should draw greater than 0. So which part should I remove?
Third quadrant, that line, sir.
Right? So third quadrant one, I removed it. X equal to 0, it is 0. Similarly, f of x is equal to minus x. This is the graph. Right? But f of x is equal to minus x in which quadrant?
Second and third.
It can either be second and third. So what should I remove? I should remove this part. So that is why if you observe the graph of modulus of x, it looks like this, where this angle is 45 degrees, this angle is 45 degrees, and this angle is 135 degrees. Now clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
that is, now if you see, that is why the graph that is given here is like this. Okay. The next type of function is called as a signum function. So signum function is also a function defined from R to R. Okay. F of x is equal to 1. Observe this. F of x is equal to 1 when x is greater than 0. 0 when x is equal to 0. Minus 1 when x is less than 0. Okay. So if at all you are able to define a function like this, then this type of a function is what is called as a signum function. Now if I try to plot the graph for this, what will I get? So when the value of x is greater than 0, f of x is equal to 1. So f of x is equal to 1. What function is it? 1 is what? Is it a variable or a constant?
Constant.
Constant.
So f of x is equal to 1 represents a constant function. Constant function also I told you in the previous class. Constant function is a function which is always parallel to.
X-axis.
X-axis.
It will be parallel to x-axis and it will be at a distance of 1 unit. So this is the graph for this is equal to 1. This is x is equal to 0. When the value of x is less than 0, f of x is equal to minus 1. So it will go like this. Okay. So this will be the graph for what function?
Signum function.
Obviously a signum function. Okay. Next. The last type of function is called as the greatest integer function. See, if you observe this graph, there is one point which is having an open circle like this. No, so where
Sir, I can't hear you, sir. It is breaking, sir.
others
Even I couldn't hear you, sir.
Now it's
you're
audible,
able
sir.
to hear.
Now it's audible suddenly,
So
sir.
it didn't break, no, till now.
Now only it broke, sir. Like when you are going to say something about the circle, at that point it broke.
Okay.
Also, it was breaking, sir.
So when I talk about the circle, I'm saying if you have an open circle like this, that circle says that the point is not included. Okay. So that is what I stress upon. What it is, you will see it later. Okay, don't worry about it. Next, the last type of function that you are going to see is greatest integer function. It is called greatest integer function. Square bracket like this and an x. Okay, f of x is equal to, if you see a square bracket like this and x in between, this is what we call it as the greatest integer function. So what is the meaning of this is equal to, what is the greatest integer? 1.3. So 1.3, is it an integer?
Sir, I didn't even understand, sir. It was breaking, sir, when you said that f of x square bracket, some gif and all, you said no, sir.
I'm saying f of x is equal to greatest integer of x. This is called as the greatest integer function. So you square it as x, we call it as greatest integer function. Okay. What I'm trying is, I'm taking an example like this and I'm asking f of x is equal to greatest integer of 1.3. Then 1.3, is it an integer, is what I asked. Can someone tell me the answer for this? What is the greatest? What do you mean by greatest integer function?
The
One,
highest
sir.
an integer.
Is it 1 or 2?
One,
Okay.
one, sir.
1 is right. So what you need to do is, you have 1.3, right? This 1.3 can be written as integer 0.3. Can I write it like this? 1.3, I can write it as 1 plus 0.3. Accepted? Right.
Yes, sir.
I can write it as 2 0.7. Wait, both are right. I can either write it as 1 plus 0.3 or 2 minus 0.7. If I write it as 1 plus 0.3, this 1 is called as the integral part or the integer part. The 0.3 is called as the fractional part. Okay. Here called as integer part and this is called as the fractional part. So as the name says, greatest integer function, what should be the answer?
The highest integer value.
So what is the answer?
2.
But that is wrong. The greatest integer in this case is 1.3 only. Why it is wrong is because when you need to find the greatest integer of a number, what you need to do is you need to always write it as in fractional part, and you need part is positive. I'm repeating it. Whenever you need to find the greatest integer of a given number, okay, you need to write that given number as a sum of integer and fractional part, and you need to ensure what? The fractional part should always be positive. In the second case, what is happening to the fractional? This negative, so this number should. See, what is the greatest 1.3? What will you say? Somebody told the answer. Greatest integer of 1.3 is 1. Okay. Similarly, if I have f of x is equal to minus 3.2, then what will be the greatest integer of it? So minus 3.2, I can write it as minus 3 minus 0.2 or minus 4 plus 0.8. Out of these two cases, which one should I take into consideration? Sorry, I am not able to hear.
-4, sir.
Why? Why should minus 4 be taken into consideration? Reason. Reason is very simple. The fractional part has to be positive. Are you able to understand? So fractional part has to be positive, means I should write it as minus 4 plus 0.8. The answer will be minus 4. That's right. Okay. So when you try to plot the graph for this, you will get a graph like this. So this is the reason. If you observe, the graph looks like a step. So that's why when you put a symbol like this, they either call it as greatest integer function, or sometimes they call it as step of x. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is all about the different types of functions. Okay. The next is a very simple concept, that is the algebra of real valued function. Okay. So it is very simple. When you have two real functions, let's say f is one real valued function and g is one real valued function, you can perform 4 operations between them. What are the 4 operations that you can perform? Obviously, you can perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You can do f of x, g of x, or you can do f of x minus g of x, or you can do f of x into g of x. Where is it? You can do f of x into g of x, or you can also do f of x by g of x, where g of x should not be equal to 0. That is the only condition. Okay. All these things will explain with an example itself. Observe. So if I have example 16, if you look at it, the function that is given is f of x is equal to x square, and g of x is given as 2x plus 1, be 2 real valued function. Then what of x? So g of x is f of x into, sorry, f of x, g of x. What will be
Sir, your voice is breaking,
f
sir.
of x here, g of x is now is it clear, guys? Now is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, I was talking about f plus g of x. It is f of x plus g of x. G of x. This is x square 2x plus 1, right? Similarly, what will be the value for f minus g of x?
f of x minus g of x.
Minus 2x.
So it will be x square minus 2x minus 1. So what will be f of x into g of x? F of
X square into 2x plus 1.
x square.
Sir, it is literally breaking, sir. I can't even hear any word, sir.
What is the issue? I will stop with this then. I'll resolve the issue and then
Actually, I didn't
have an next class. Okay.
greatest integer function, sir.
Okay. Anyways, the recording will voice. Okay, you can go through it. So since others are also facing the same issue, I don't think I can proceed anymore. Okay. So I will check what is the issue on my side. I'll try to get it resolved because I don't think previous class had this issue. But in
Yes,
physics
sir.
class, we didn't have this
No
issue at
issue,
all.
sir.
It was very smooth. Yeah. I don't know why this has come. Anyways, I'll check it. It might be because my device is having a lesser low power also. It is having only 8% charge. Maybe it is not able to pull the Wi-Fi also. Anyways, what I'll do, stop with this recording. So I had these problems and be ready. Tomorrow I will explain you the concept of domain and range. I'll give you some extra problems. These problems are not for you to understand. I'll give you some extra problems. We will do them. And we'll
Okay, sir.
actually, functions theoretical part is over. It is just few problems which we need to do. But since the issue is prevailing, I'm not able to proceed. Okay.
Okay,
So I'll
sir.
see you guys tomorrow. I'll try to get it resolved. So if you guys sincerely practice.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.